and gentlemen, here it is.
Streaming 24/7.
24/7.
Bold Moves Radio.
Bold Moves Radio.
Afrika, nakupenda sana. Oh, Afrika, nakupenda sana.
Good evening once again. As expected, as you will grow used to that, again, this is that beautiful evening where we meet and we look at our country and see how best one can do from our respective corners in building it to become a beautiful country that we all want to see it becoming. And how do we do that? Obviously, we do that with you, but with guests that we invite from time to time. And this evening, we've got a special guest who will come, or who is yet rather to share with us what is it exactly, what he is doing from his private space, from his private corner, from the darkest corner that he emerges from. And you must be asking yourself who this guest is. But before we even assist you who this guest is, I've got with me my co-host, NGOBENI, who would want to say hi to you as we welcome our guest that I will reveal to you whose identity actually is.
Good evening once again, bold movers. Welcome to another installation of Love SA, that lovely program where we continue to ask that pertinent question: what are you doing in your own corner? What are you doing in your own space to appeal to the nation, to continue to build this beautiful nation of ours that is South Africa? So today we have a very special guest, as Kokwan Magoda, Mr. MANGANYI, said. I'm so excited to be with him today. It's, I can say, most of you, our listeners, you know this. Rome was not built in one day, or everything big starts little. And in this show, this is what we are trying to highlight every Thursday evening when we meet with you, that Rome was not built in one day. Everything big starts little. So in whatever amount, in whatever extent that you are trying to make a difference, either in people's lives, in your communities, or whatever way, that is what Love SA is about. And we have a very special guest that we have today, that we have invited today. We cannot wait to introduce him so that you guys can get to know more about him and his life and the work that he's doing to uplift communities around him and impact the lives of people around him. Kokwan Magot.
And we do this through, as Love SA, through Bold Moves Radio, and we are doing it this evening. And South Africa is alive with possibilities. And the story of our guest today bears testimony to that South Africa is so much alive with possibilities. All one needs to do is to open his eyes, and opening up your eyes will lead you to one of the crucial building blocks of the country that we are building and continue to build, not only for us, but for generations to come, as this has also been built for us by generations that came before us. And now the baton is with us. And to do that, we have got our guest. Our guest is a teacher by profession. Our guest is, should I continue to indicate to you that our guest, other than being a teacher, South Africa being so much alive with possibilities, our guest is a referee by profession as well, a referee, football referee. That is our guest, and you will want to know how he would move from being so versatile, from being a teacher alone, and move on to become a referee. And he's a referee of note, a referee that started like any other from small beginnings, and now he's at the peak of his career as a referee. And over and above that, our guest is a philanthropist at heart, and many things that he has been doing, many things that he continues to do, many is expected of him in his community, in South Africa at large, and more about this when we continue with him. Let's, if I were to say, look forward to welcoming our guest, and that is Victor Hlungwani. Welcome, Zinjiva. Welcome, Hlungwani.
Riperile Magoda, and welcome to the listeners. We are overwhelmed with love this evening.
There we go. It is love that brought us together, and that love will see us taking this journey. It's a patriotic journey, as we always say. We do this because of the love that we have for our country. And Hlungwani,
Ahe.
yeah, what a journey! What a journey so far. Many can only dream of this. One cannot wait but continue looking at you from where you come from. A teacher by profession, that's what you started with. And if I may ask you, our listeners, our viewers that are with us and are loyally with us throughout all these shows every Thursday evening using Facebook pages and YouTube, they'll want to know, Hlungwani, where does Hlungwani, to start with, comes from? Where were you born?
A young boy born in a village called Homo Block 14B in Guyane, and then went to school at Ipambukele Primary School in Guyane, and then completed matric in 1994 at Guyane High School, and went to the NGOBENI College to do his secondary teacher's diploma, completed in 1998. And then also went to China University of Technology to do an advance in education management. That is how to be a principal of a school. So I'm a principal.
Oh, we are talking to a principal, the headmaster. But I wonder how the kids look at you, because they expect somebody who hardly smiles, to respect and to take instructions from. But that is on a light note. Hlungwani, we are excited, as Ngobeni indicated earlier on, to have you with us. And we are excited to have the village boy in you to be with us this evening. And that goes to motivate many who believes that, you are who your destiny is determined by where you come from. But it's not always a question of where you come from, but a question of who you are, where you come from. And that is the story that you obviously will be sharing with us. Okay, Ngobeni.
Well, Zinjiva, we welcome you once again to the show. We are so excited to have you with us today. I'll be intermingling between calling you Zinjiva Hlungwani, sweswi hi ku twa ku mihloko ya xikolo mudyondzisi Mr. Ref hi na ti-reference to tala namuntlha to try and refer to, but we are so excited once again to have you today with us on the show. Zinjiva, the first question being, we want to give you more of this platform to take our listeners through what you do on your daily basis, obviously to bring impact into people's lives, to touch people with what you do. And I want us to zoom in now into your professional life as a football referee. But before we go into that, we are introduced to Zinjiva as a teacher, a headmaster. How do we shift from Zinjiva that we know as the teacher into the Zinjiva that we are now that we most commonly know as the referee?
Yeah, the principal, it's a name given to me in Gabon. But qualification through the advanced certificate, it gave me to have knowledge of if I can run a school, I can run a school. So now I'm working for Rand Water as a water quality facilitator, where we teach how water is purified. So if you want to know more about how water is purified and how to save water, that is my job currently. Coming back to football, when I started in 1991, I was 15 years old. In the dusty street, Lake Yani, Le Akaliki, Le Airanwa, Le Katomo, Le Usungule Le 14 ya kama payeni kutali ya Katomo, aba ibitana nsami zone. Karana ya saba mwani wa kumeste ngwenga. That's where everything started. And then I will get promotion to the next level until Manwasafa Lekian, they came to me. Hey, we're running short of referees. We heard you are a good referee. I said, hey, I don't know whether I'm a good referee, but they gave me a chance to referee there. But when it started, it was so nice because one day the league wanted referees in my team, KYD, and people were not volunteering. I just said, "I'll give it to me, man." Because I was young, they were laughing because at that time, they used to beat referees, so they were afraid for my safety. No, this one will be beaten. And when I look at football on its own, I'm like, no. These people are complaining about smaller things. The referee does not run, I'm going to run. The referee is not about this decision, I'm going to be sure. The referee does not point clearly, I'm going to point clearly. The whistle is not heard, I'm going to make sure they hear my whistle. So the first match, after I've corrected all those things, they were like, no, this is a good referee, man. And then they motivated me to continue with refereeing, and then passion developed more as I went through the courses until I reached the national stage, professional level, and international stage. So that road, to me, when I look back, I'm like, hey, one is from far, actually from Cape to Cairo, from Sudan to Cameroon. So I've been all parts of Africa.
So if I hear you, Zinjiva, correctly, what you're saying to our listeners, to our viewers, is that your chance of becoming a referee that you are today professionally was more situational in the beginning, in that it was not your plan to become one, but a situation that prevailed at that particular time when your team was without a referee and one was needed. You raised your hand up like the biblical David.
Exactly. I raised my hand, and the good thing is when you are a referee, when you start the match, you finish the match. There's no substitution. There's no substitution. So when I know on the weekend I'm going to finish the match. There's no one who will say substitute for the referee. That is how nice it is. They even give you that pocket money where you're no longer going to trouble your parents and say, I need pocket money. During that time, I used to eat equinya, which was 5 cents, 10 cents by then. And then when I joined refereeing, I graduated to eating a quarter.
But now, Hlungwani, this profession, as you indicated, that especially the time that you started we still see, unfortunately, some of similar scenes occasionally happening, even within our professional context of footballing, that fans would show their displeasure in one way or another that would relate to violence. What motivated you, despite the violent reactions that you will come across as a referee, that despite this, I'm stepping up to become one?
Yeah, as I said, some teams used to beat referees, but nobody condoned that behavior. There was no one who would stand up and say, this is good. Everyone was, when it happened at the end, that team must be fired. That team must be chased away. So that gave me hope that there's no one who's promoting this behavior. They even call it thuggish behavior in our football. They even said, no, referees are human beings. They make mistakes the same as everyone. Who does not make mistakes? Jesus once said, who is not a sinner, can he be the first one to throw a stone? Everyone went back. So in football, we will make mistakes. Players will make mistakes. Everybody make mistakes. And as long as people condemn it, that gave me courage to say, I will continue to be a referee. And the other thing is, there's a myth that says, this decision will make supporters to be unruly. I find this to be undermining our supporters. If you check Pirates, Chiefs, many matches in the Premier League, I've never seen people getting into the stadium. They will throw 1 or 2 missiles. From there, they sit down and then they continue watching the match. Now, here, someone will say, this decision will cause violence. Which violence? Our supporters are highly educated. They understand that we go to the game There's win, lose, or draw.
And that is Victor Hlungwani, our guest for the evening. And we still have a lot that we're going to unpack with him within this very short time that we have for him to be with us, sharing with us how we should beautifully shape our country, South Africa. And but more about him and about his contribution to South Africa when we come from the other side of the commercial break that we should be taking shortly, because he needs time to have that sip of water, and we also have some couple of bills to pay, and to do that we have to take the commercial break. And that's how we come back from our break. And we are still with Mr. Victor Hlungwani, the referee that we are so proud of. And we are so proud because we have seen him gracing our screens, and we have seen him traveling across Africa, doing what everybody watches would be so proud to be associated with him, especially as a South African. Doing such a great thing, because it is one of the many ways that we need to market our country for investors, for tourists, for everybody to know who we are and have desire to visit us. And in that way, we are building our economy. Now, there's so much that one can get into when it comes to the matches, football games, that when one looks at, you will say, but the referee, how does he so independently and competently stand his ground to control the game, to keep it in control, that no disruptions, because any slightest mistake you make in terms of decisions that you make on the spur of the moment can see what can be catastrophic. We know what happened in Ellis Park, but we don't want to go into that. Mr. Zinjiva, what makes you, despite the noise that fans will be making from the grandstands and many things that people will be saying, you are there alone? Of course, you are with your assistants, but what makes you stay focused in making sure that the game runs smoothly?
Firstly, is the love of the job and the knowledge of the laws of the game. We have 17 laws of the game, and law 5, which is the referee. It says the referee has full authority over the game that he has been appointed to officiate. So now, what does it mean? It means full authority over the game. The whole of the game belongs to you, and your job is to enforce the laws of the game. So it means you need to ensure that all the 17 laws of the game, players respect them on the field, players follow them. Those who don't follow them, your whistle will go to the mouth. Those who don't follow the laws of the game, or who break the laws of the game, the flag will go up in terms of offside or any infringement of the laws of the game. So if you have that knowledge, you are confident enough to can now get in there, enjoy the game. Because once you have confidence, you will enjoy the game. And as referees, we also enjoy. If someone do a shibobo there, we also laugh at him.
Okay. Late Nelson Mandela, our icon, he believed so much in sports. We have seen how he got so much involved. He got so much involved in sports, attending games shortly after 1994, or when we got into this constitutional order that we are today. Do you personally believe that sports, in this case soccer, does have a role to play in building our country?
Even in the FIFA fair play principle, one of the principles is football should help to build a better world for all. And that's what Nelson Mandela always advocated. And I learned a lot from Nelson Mandela. One thing that I learned that helped me in the game, he says, if you want to speak to someone, try and speak his language. You will now be speaking to his heart. It helped me one day. I remember I was doing a game at Pitamkawa Stadium, Kaiser Chiefs and Hlungwani City. Remember Musona from Zimbabwe was a striker for Kaiser Chiefs then. He came in as a sub. Musona was very dangerous. Now, as he came in, there was a corner kick, I think 86 minutes. When he moved this side, they would block his movement. He moved this side, they would block his movement. And he will be very angry as they block him. So I'm busy saying, easy, 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 easy. This man does not understand me. I stopped the game and called him aside and spoke his language in Shona and said, hey, Shamari, pora, pora, pora. Pora means calm down. From there, he was like, you could see that, when you meet a white man saying, hey, I'm Shane, hey, Miera Wena. I was speaking to the heart. End of the match, he came to me, speak Shona? I said, no, when you provoke me, I will speak Shona. I don't speak Shona, but when you provoke me, I will speak your language. So it really helped me a lot in terms of managing the match. You look at Serino who speaks Spanish. Now we're able to tell them in Spanish, hey, tranquilo, tranquilo. So that really helps a lot, but that was the lesson we learned from Nelson Mandela.
The issue of language is very interesting. In fact, on a light note, most of the time when I visit restaurants, there are many from Zim that are serving us there. And if I have been waiting for a couple of minutes, we normally will go like, Chikafu changa choita here, meaning is my food ready? And they will see the smiles and the readiness with which they are there to help you out. But I think NGOBENI is beginning with a question that it needs to pose to you on behalf of our viewers and listeners.
Well, Zinjiva, up to so far, I cannot take it away from you that indeed the love of the game resides within you. If not, you are the beacon of the love of the game. And that explains how far you've come in your professional career as a referee. But Zinjiva, allow me now to try and zoom into community development projects that you may have been involved in through soccer. I would imagine that in your developmental stages in this career and to a point where you are now, that must have opened doors for you to be involved in professional, in community development. Will you be so kind to take us through that?
Yes. Because of the love, love is when you have love, you don't mind to spend on something that you love. I started a tournament in 1995 while I was doing first year at the college. I just saw at my hometown there was this thing of Obesh in the villages where children will come and get drunk for the whole night. To me, it was not good because children were underage. I went to the Babam Drove in my village to say, hey, look, yesterday there were some police vans looking for those children who fought because they have nothing to do. Is there anything we can do or any assistance you can give to us to keep them out of the street? Then Duna said, Mzala, I don't have money. But I said, Marandula, give us a goat. We'll play for the goat. We said, a goat? Oh, that I can give. He gave us a goat. And we played for the goat. We put some money there so that the winner can get money and the goat. And it went very well. As they scored, they will go to the corner kick and say, me, me, me. So that inspired me to say, okay, it worked with the goat. Next year, we continue. And as we continue, 2008, I remember getting a bursary from the college. The bursary came late while I had already paid. That bursary was used to play for the tournament or was used in the tournament. So the tournament continued up until 2000 where I named it Zamazama. This year, Zamazama will having 23 years in existence, playing in my home village. And there's an ETH talent. There's Nyambi, who was a referee in the PSL. He came from my tournament. We have Justice who played for Chipa now. He played for Orlando Pirates, Sikukune, and Chipa as well. He came from my tournament. We have Abbott Gledwin Shitoro, they played in my tournament. So I have so many players who have played in my tournament. Oscar and Masulu, Kebo Weissman, they are playing in my tournament. So it has produced so many young talent and changed lives. And then again in 2009, I met Tony Chavalala and David Matebula, and I told them, hey, Bafui, at home, our players don't know how a player is tested when they talk of drugs and alcohol abuse. Why don't we have a program where we tell our brothers and sisters at home, we go to schools and teach them the importance of education, drugs and alcohol abuse, teenage pregnancy. That program, even today, in June, we are still will identify schools that will go and then educate our learners. We use examples, our real life examples, because I work closely with Tebo Homunyai, who's a graduate of Victoria University. We also have Oscar Masuluke. Remember, Oscar Masuluke was fired by Baroka because of alcohol. So we tell the learners how you were fired, because it's a lesson on its own. And when he relates that story, it's so inspiring and touching for the learner to say he was fired because of a beer where he drank in a bus coming from Bethlehem to Libua home or to Lipompo after that match, which they lost 2-0 to Free State Stars. So we're using our real life examples to say, if we can do it, if we can change our behavior, why don't you copy from us? And it's really inspiring and motivating for us to say, at least we have done something for our community.
Yes, yes. Well, Zinjiva, I understand you've seen through so many players that we've seen in our TV screen playing the game. Some I believe are still in their developmental stages. But besides those who followed through football, what are some of the positive impacts that you've seen through your community development involvement?
The one bigger thing that we are very proud is to change lives. We had gone to one of the school at the Hlungwani village where we got reports that over 80-something learners were pregnant in 1 year. And we then sat down and did an intervention program to say, let's go and speak to the learners and see if there's a change. So the report we got is that since then, we never had reports that there were so many learners who were pregnant in that particular institution. So that is the impact that we can be proud of, to say we have changed lives at this particular school. If you see Jelly Chavani in the PSL refereeing there, we went to his school and we told the learners that look at the number of players who come from this side. We are less. We are very few. Referee, I was alone by then. You know what he said to us? He said, Mr. Hlungwani, count me in. Within a few years, when I complete my matric, I'll be sitting there with you. Where is Jelly Chaban today? He's sitting with us. He goes with us to schools, and he will tell the learners that this program motivated me to say, I need to join this team so that I can motivate others. So that is one practical example that we can show today that, hey, look at Jerry. And if I can tell you a secret, at one stage I found him very young wearing a t-shirt of a particular team. I told him, hey, you must ban it. And he banned it. But today he's a professional referee, earning a good salary. He bought a car, a house through football money. So that really motivates us and encourages us to say, we have done it, but there's more that we can do.
Okay, that is Victor Hlungwani, our guest for tonight. And before we continue with him, we have to take a commercial break. But I must say that when we come from the commercial break, we need to know from our guest exactly because I find it so interesting, and I think many of you, as our listeners, viewers, you would share this interest that I have in the intervention that they came up with to assist a school at one of the far-flung rural-based school that is outside Guyana. I know there's school, and I think that is a lesson that intervention that I would like that he expand more on it. And we need stories like this. We need experiences like he has with that school to share with others so that such things do not recur from any of our other corners of the country. But more on this when we come from the other side of the break.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is.
Streaming 24/7.
24/7.
Bold Moves Radio.
Bold Moves Radio.
Afrika nakupenda sana, oh Afrika nakupenda sana.
Yes, that is Love SA through Bold Moves Radio, and our guest Victor Hlungwani will continue to share with us, as I indicated earlier on, that we want to know more about the nature of intervention that they came up with to help out that school with the unfortunate incident that it experienced a couple of years ago.
Yeah, it was good. You know, when we have people who have seen it all and share with the learners, we had David Matebula, who was presenting on teenage pregnancy. The way, and Wiseman Maluleke, the way he put it to the learners was, look, your future is in your hand, and the decision that you take today will impact your future. So it's up to you to decide whether you still want to go this road or you need to change. Secondly, to make a mistake in life does not mean that you are dead. Everybody make a mistake. You can still come back. And we also had about Ishmael Malulek, who even said to the learners, it is not yet over until God says it's over. I was also motivated as well when he said some statement like that to say, hey, it is not yet over until God says it's over. It means even if I made a mistake or I did not reach a particular level, there's still time for me. So to the learners that this message was, conveyed to, when we spoke to the teachers the following year, they told us that we have done a great job. When learners see their role models speaking to them, there is that level of motivation to say, hi, besides listening to my teachers, this one who I see on TV telling me this, it means I need to change my behavior for better. And that's really what happened. Recently, we have just even engaged with the school to get them the soccer kit that they are using now at the school. We bought them everything that they require at the school because of our engagement. And we know that they will participate in all sports. So that is what we are very proud of.
I've seen personally your activities from a distance, and I may be wrong, but would you consider interventions such as this that you have just shared or you're sharing with our viewers? It's a very interesting one. That's why I had to ask you to expand on it. But I guess it will be even more beneficial, especially to a girl child, when they start to see more involvements from your team that incorporate women that are involved in soccer. How much of women involvement do you have in such kind of activities, or how far are you in getting them involved as well, if they are not really part of these beautiful activities that you are engaged in?
My God, as if you know, there's a lady called Mwajika the poetry. I got her during Tonic Chavalala's games where Chiefs and Pirates legends were playing, and Benima Ingani made his debut for Kaiser Chiefs because he always said it. I played for Kaiser Chiefs. Yes, I was the referee on the day when Benima Ingani was playing. He even got a free kick that they scored. So that lady was with Mama Becca where she was introducing the Bakegula when they play. I said, no, you, with your talent, you need to join us when we go to schools because your poetry is a talent. Because when we go to schools, we have a theme. Our theme says, you are a star. There's a star in you. Identify your star quality and make it shine very bright. We have identified our star qualities as football people. What is your star quality? So those who are having talent in poetry, Mwajika joined us last year, and she's coming on board this year as a first lady to join this program. But she's more talking about a writer because she writes books, she writes poetry. Last week, she sent me a message that one of her books has been recognized by the department to be used in the education curriculum, which is very encouraging. So now going to schools this year with Mwajika, reciting her poetry, motivating learners that poetry is also one of the career that one can take. We see President Ramaphosa, when he addressed the nation, a poetry will come in first, the premiers, the mayors, so, and they get paid for that. So we need to, we are now expanding to say if we can get more women involvement who have been successful in sports or any other career, because a star can be anything that when it comes out and it shines, it will motivate others. So we're looking for more women to join us in this journey as we prepare for the June event this year.
Ngobeni, if, and our viewers and listeners, if one thing that prominently stands out for me from what Mr. Hlungwani is sharing with us is that instead of standing on against our fences there, criticizing, asking, when is this happening? Who is doing this next? We should get involved ourselves, because if you look at how we got involved with the soccer tournaments back at his village, he said that he looked around, he realized things that the youth were exposed to, and he said to himself, this cannot be. I cannot stand helplessly and to steal from the ways of our President Cyril Ramaphosa. When he came into power, he said that Tumamina, and here he is, Zinjiva is saying to us, let's not just criticize, but let's stand up, roll up our sleeves and do something to build our country.
What stands out for me on what Zinjiva has been sharing so far, it's the fact that he started with very little to no help. I mean, I found that story funny when he said he asked the head man of that village where he started to say, well, even if you don't have money, you can give us a goat to play for. And that's how the tournament started. And Zinjiva, this brings me to my next question, to say, with all the community development that you are doing so far, I want people to understand that in order for one to make an impact in people's lives, you don't need like bottomless pockets. If you have the love to make that development, if you have the love to make that impact, it's doable. How much of external support have you been able to garner thus far in order to continue with the activities that you do in order to develop communities?
At first, you will have those people that you schooled with, because those were my soft target. If I schooled with you and you are working, I'll go to you and say, Fakanyana, so that we can develop our communities. We had about Dr. Maringa in Gyan that started with me, and then there were some owners of the shops in my area, but majority of the money was coming from my pocket because of the love. At times it went over with me paying for everything until it reaches for my 30,000, where I felt, hey, Now I cannot afford to pay 30,000 from my pocket. I need to go more. And then all thanks to Tatana TM Chaoke from Kamadzekudzeku, who came on board. Because one day I wanted to stop the tournament because I did not have any sponsor confirming. And I remember one lady or one woman at my village says, "Hey, Puti Victor, you see this tournament? We are able to come and sell water here and sell food, and we buy a school uniform for the kids, school clothes for Christmas, and then pay school fees." I'm like, huh? If this tournament stops, it means this lady won't have money to pay for school fees, for the uniform, for the Christmas clothes. So that touched me a lot. And I prayed that day to say, God, I don't have money for this season. I'm canceling it, but I'm leaving it up to you. And all of a sudden, I called Mr. Chawoke. He said, "No, don't worry, Hlungwani. Who will do it if we don't do it for our own people?"
Yeah.
Those words inspired me to say, he said, "No, go ahead and give me all the prices. We'll see how far we can cover." And then Mr. Chawoke came on board and then he paid for number 1, 2, 3. And then we also have both Hlungwani coaches who also assisted. Since then, the tournament has been, going on. We are able to pay because some tournament plays and teams win and they don't get their prize monies. But with us, we are very lucky with the support that we got from such people who will tell you who will do it for our own people if we don't do it ourselves. There's no one who will come from KZN to make a tournament again. We have to do it. So
Yeah.
those words encourages business people to say, those who have heart and love need to dig down in their pockets, dig down and say, what are we doing for the community? And if you do something, God will bless you.
Handle ka mintlhontlho leyi mi nga va mi kha mi hlangana na yo hi sayiti ra swa timali ni pfumela ku ka ntirho lowukulu mi nga ku endleni a hi hinkwavo va yimaka va mi bela mavoko va ku hayi Hlungwani hi lavaya va le ku cinceni ka vutomi bya vanhu hi hanya misaveni hi nge swi cinci swesweleswo i yini mintlhontlho yin'wana mi nga va mi kha mi hlangana na yo Hlungwani ka ku va mi ringeta ku yisa emahlweni?
Yaleyo ni tsakisa ngopfu hikuva va kona lava va ngo hayi u westa mali le bolweni va rivala ku no n'wana a hi wa wun'we ku va u teke n'wana u n'wi yisa girawundini u nga va u save vutomi bya yena nkarhi wun'wana a ta va ri le byaleni a lovile kumbe a kumela vanghana va wrong lava nga ta n'wi yisa kun'wana mara ku va a ri le boleni swi endle ku no n'wana luya a va na vutomi. So with my experience na love ya sports ntlhontlho yo tala na kota ku yi hlula ku you will have people who will bend the rules va zama ti-chance ta vona va zama ku yi criticize in a way. I remember banning a team for 5 years ku va yi nga tangi aka prize giving ceremony on the day va hume groundini. The same team after a year or two they came and said, we are very sorry. And mind you, I even invited my guest to come. So that sent a strong message to the teams to say, "Leka zama zama le akutlangeri ukona," because I'm a man of law in terms of football rules. I need to ensure that people enjoy and people love the tournament. They even own it. If you go to the field, aga tournament, it's a challenge. I don't have to remove you from the field. They will remove you themselves. They will tell you, stop a tournament. So most of the challenges are resolved by the community itself than my resolutions.
Well, inkomu swinene Tata Mzinjiva, hi khensa swinene so far what you've been sharing with us. If you can allow me to take this time and go to an ad break, we still need to pay a couple of bills that we left behind. But after this break, Tata Mzinjiva, and as he continues to share with us the great works that he continues to do through his profession, and that is he's a soccer referee. After this break, more on that. Our Bold Moves family, we welcome you back once again. The program is Love SA. We have our guest, TV Hlungwani, a professional football referee. My host, Mr. NTSHEMBO MANGANYI. Kokwani Magoda, loko no ya mahlweni ni vutisa swivutiso ni nge heti. My kind of a job is that one where I ask questions on a daily basis to make a gainful living. Over to you.
A ni lava ku byela vusiwana ku ri hayi u nga ya mahlweni u vutisa so mara loko u nyikile nkarhi a yi kona mbyana yi vukula nyama i ri mbyana yi lumaluma rhambu leriwani. Tatana Zinjiva, we have seen you going into the continent, officiating in some of the most crucial games. Now, if I were to ask you on behalf of our listeners, what will be that game that stands out as a highlight, as a peak for your participation in the football in the continent, Africa?
There's two games. One was in 2012 in Gabon, where I opened a stadium that played the Africa Cup of Nations in 2012 in Libreville. It was Brazil and Gabon. You know, when you referee Brazil, once you say Brazil, it's champions, world winners, so many times. Can't remember whether 4 or 5 times. Now, Brazil speak Portuguese, Gabon speak French. We speak English. Now, when I arrive in Libreville, we have what we call pre-match meeting a day before the match. So when we arrive, I think we're late for the pre-match meeting. So the first person we got who was checking in there, he said, center arbit. Now, center arbit, I knew a little bit, arbit is the referee. So center, I raised my hand, they can only be center referee. Then I raised my hand, center arbit, I raised. So this guy that I'm going with, Dilika and Sandy, they said, oh, center arbit, center arbit. And then we went, before we get to the venue, we got another white man, he said, principal arbit. I also raised my hand. He said, so when we got him, he said to me, hey, Victor, now you got promotion, you're no longer center arbit, you're principal arbit. Even today, he called me principal. So that game got me a nickname, principal. Even today, even when I go to the analysis, it's principal because of that match. 2, I got to shake the hand of the head of state of Gabon, which was Bongo, Ali Bongo. Yeah, it was nice, shaking a hand with the president, opening the stadium. And when I go to the match, I need to communicate with the players. I don't know Portuguese, I don't know French. So, but I had to learn. In the evening, I did not sleep. How do you tell a player in French to come down? They said, tranquille. Now I had to learn tranquille, tranquille. How do you say tell a player who speaks Portuguese to come down? Tranquilo, tranquilo, tranquilo. So as I was sleeping, tranquilo, 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 tranquilo. And coming to the match, one player kicked somebody. It was a French player. Now I had to go to him and say, hey, tranquille. I forgot, tranquille. It's like when we do the checking of the kit, they will take out a T-shirt and say, probleme. Probleme means ya clash now. So if I clash, you say, no probleme, pas de probleme. They take out the short, probleme, pas de probleme. The socks, they clash, probleme, probleme, probleme. Then they change. So now with that situation, I said, I forgot about tranquil. Then I say, hey, probleme, probleme, probleme. So the people could understand. You could see how he was apologizing. I'm like, it works. And then, because it was a big match in the continent, the ambassador of South Africa visited us at the hotel because she was also there at the stadium. I remember her surname was Shope. So I asked her, are you related to Gertrude Shop? He said, it's my mother. So I'm like, oh, I know your mother because in 1990, your mother came to Guyana with Chris Hani, where Professor Hudson Sangwisi closed the colleges. And then they came to ask him to open the colleges. So she was like, oh, you know my mother? I said, oh. So it was like now we're speaking Sotho there in a foreign country. But to my surprise, she came with one guy who was very black. This guy was very black to such an extent, and we thought, no, he's a Gabonese. So we greeted him in French because we were learning French. Bonjour. He said, Renda. We were embarrassed.
Okay, right there, Mr. Hlungwani. If I were to ask you a question that when officiating beyond the borders of South Africa, those special words that were ever said to you by somebody in appreciation of your officiating, how would you say they in fact your officiating reflected on the country South Africa when you hear the words? And I want to know what would be those words that were said, and when you heard them you said, oh, I'm marketing my country very well.
When we finish the match, there's shaking of hands as FIFA requires that players must shake hands. So now every time they will come, they say, "Bon match, bon match, bon match." Now we're like, hey, what is bon match? Then we went to the hotel and asked, what is bon match? He said, good match. Oh, good match, bon match. Now we started celebrating, hey, bon match, bon match, bon match, as a team of South African referees. Now, and again, when we arrived at the hotel, all those people at the hotel who were watching the match, they stood up and clapped hands for us because they were watching from the dining room or the restaurant at the hotel. So as we arrived, they were like, these referees did a good job. Bon match, arbitra, bon match, Africa did suit, bon match. So that gave us hope and courage. And instead of us going the following day, that we went day after. Our flight was cancelled to go the other day. We're like, Gabon, welcome. And I didn't know that Gabon and South Africa had good relationship in such a way that when you fly from South Africa to Gabon, you don't have to pay for visa if you stay for less than 1 month. So that relationship between South Africa and Gabon was also cemented by our performance on the day.
Mr. Hlungwani, if I were to say something to a listener or to a viewer who may not much into soccer, and this evening I want to say to that listener, to a viewer who may want to move away from this program, that tranquilo, that calm down. You need to listen to our third principal arbit, NGOBENI Zinjiva, and that is how we should be going about in our business on a daily basis to ensure that what we do reflects well on our country. That is one significant way of showing how much we love our country. We should love our country first before we expect others to love it. Remember, even if people were to visit us, they look at how we conduct ourselves as citizens in the country. And we want to say bon match to you as well in your efforts, in your activities that see us being talked positively about outside the borders of South Africa. Mr. Zinjiva.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much.
Principal arbiter. Problema. No problem. Well, we are drawing near to a close, and it has been an interesting discussion so far. I'm spending so much time just enjoying what you're saying. At some point, I have to mute my mic in order to laugh peacefully without annoying our listeners. I would be doing a big mistake if I do not acknowledge Mama Jolene Manganyi, who has joined us today as well. We welcome you into the show. Thank you for joining us. So, Principal Arbiter, my understanding from when we started with the show is from the way you cut your teeth into this profession, or into refereeing, if I can put it that way, and if English allows, was more situational, just as how Kokwan Magoda narrated or summed it up. But how would you encourage those who want to follow suit in your footsteps into being referees and building a professional career onto that? Can we shine a spotlight a little bit more into that in just less than 40 seconds?
Yeah, we don't have enough referees in the country, especially women. So you are welcome to join your local football association, and they do courses there, do promotion, and then you never know. The sky is the limit. When I joined, I never knew that I will be traveling the whole country. I'll be traveling the continent. But now, the other day when I counted, I traveled 25 countries in Africa. Some of them I went there 4-5 times. Egypt I went 4-5 times. Tunisia 3 times. Cameroon 3 times. So you can see that in football refereeing, there's no substitution for you. You finish the match. So come join us to finish the match.
And that is Victor Hlungwani embodiment of honesty, professionalism, focus, determination, because these are some of the things that will come handy to be associated with you if you were to be in the profession that is the profession of refereeing, a profession that requires a lot of accuracy in execution of your duties, because many of the decisions that you take are hardly irreversible. But if you were to, as we draw to a conclusion of our program, indicate to us, you are into water purification. Water purification on its own is a topic that requires a show of its own, not for even an hour, but more. Would I be correct that this must have been, again, because we look at your profession as a teacher, that has something to do with your love for your country. You look at your refereeing, that has got something to do as well with your country, and the water purification. What a way to say, my country cannot drink polluted water. Would I be correct that your journey in all the professions that you are, you have been through and you still are in, and of course, the water purification say a lot about who Victor Hlungwani is as a building block, or one of the building blocks of South Africa?
My God, I went to Zimbabwe to do a match, and I asked those people when I arrived, can I drink water from the tap? They said, at your own risk, my friend. But in South Africa, can we drink water from the tap? Yes, we can drink from the tap. Our water is safe to drink. We have never received reports that one is safe after drinking our water. Because of what? We follow the South African National Standards for Water, which is Sense 241, and the World Health Organization guidelines. So it is safe to drink water from the tap in our area of supply. Because
mi yi dyondzisile namuntlha ku ri ku hi vona mbuti hi nga hleketi ntsena ku ri i ya mphahlo, kambe yi nga tirhisiwa tanihi cup eka ntlangu wa bolo kumbe mitlangu yin'wana leyi nga vaka kona. I yini marito lawa, hi wahi marito lawa mi nga vaka na wona? What are the ways that you would want to to leave our listeners and viewers with ways that will not go back to what we've already discussed? Something that you are banning, that this program cannot come to an end properly. I will not have been fair to the listeners, to the viewers, and of course my host if I don't share with them in less than 30 seconds.
You are a star. There's a star quality inside you. Identify that star quality and make it shine very bright. God has given you a talent. Look at your talent, search for it. Why? Once you find it, make sure that it shines very bright. Dedicate yourself, full commitment, and then the sky is the limit.
That has been Victor Hlungwani from the dusty street of 14B at Bananeni in the Limpopo province, part of South Africa. We are so privileged to have had you with us this evening, and it is our belief that we have no doubt about that somebody picked up something that they can run with from tomorrow, or from now rather, in building and contributing to the growth of our beautiful country, South Africa. NGOBENI.
Principal Arbit, Messi Bukal. That's all I can say. The show has been interesting. We appreciate you. We appreciate having you in the show. We believe that our listeners would have want to learn more from you, what we'll do, we'll just make sure that we share on this broadcast after closing your social media platforms and possibly contact details if we're at liberty to do that. But merci beaucoup.
Muito obrigado in Portuguese.
Muito obrigado. That's how we come to an end of our this evening's Thursday edition of Love SA. We have been with Victor Hlungwani and our executive producer. We want to say thank you for making this edition possible once again. Next week, Thursday, same time, and we should be continuing. We have no doubt about that with our bold moves to building this country, South Africa. Good night.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is.
Streaming 24/7.
24/7.
Bold Moves Radio.
Bold Moves Radio.
Afrika nakupenda sana, oh Afrika nakupenda sana.